I went to a Warhammer tournament and I want to talk about it. Hello, it's me, your wildest dream, your worst nightmare, and Titan of Joy Jubilee. This is part 2 of my Warhammer tournament recap. So I went to Storm of Silence, which is a 2-day Warhammer Grand Tournament in Spokane, Washington. And when we last left me, I was 1-2 in the first day of the tournament. Day 2 had 2 rounds left, so it was going to end a little early to allow people time to travel back home. And yeah, at this point I'm facing other people that have also gone 2-1. So it remains a relatively casual experience. The first game of the day was into Benjamin and his Tau. Now, since the last time I faced off against the Tau army, they got a new codex, so I really didn't know what to expect. It's a lot of crisis suits, a lot of riptides, and then this is the biggest and scariest threat on the board though was the Tau Nar, which doesn't look that big here, but it is a Titanic unit. And a lot of infantry for Tau. I think there were 3 groups of Pathfinders and 1 other infantry group, but each of those units had a character in them, and the mission for this game was Sites of Power. Now, Sites of Power is a mission where you get points for holding your objectives in Nomad as usual, but you get extra points if you also then have a character on them, which leads to a lot of interesting games where you're trying to take out the characters as much as other units. My list has 6 characters in it, so it's a little bit heavy, but 2 of them start off the board. And, unusual for me, he got to go first. So he moves up several of his units of infantry. We both had deployed pretty conservatively, but because he wanted to get characters on the points, he put 1 character on each of the 3 objectives in No Man's Land. And because Tau is a shooting army, I had everything hidden behind terrain, so he didn't have a lot of options to take shots at. So I got my Repentia on this side of the board right up in their face. They have a pretty fast movement, so that wasn't too hard. And then right behind them is Junith and the squad of Celestians going to park on that objective, where they'd pretty much hang out for the rest of the game. On the other side of the board, the now named Sister Beatrice went up and got some work done. We did manage to take out the character leading the Crisis battle suits, but the Palatine all by herself took out 3 of the Crisis battle suits. This girl, I'm telling you, she gets some work done. So a couple rounds go by, we're exchanging units on the points, we're trying to keep our characters safe, we're taking each other's characters out. But like I said, I had Junith over, camped out on 1, and I managed to both take out the things that were threatening it and then take out the next wave of stuff. And then what I did is I flooded the central point with all of my infantry. It was about 400 or 500 points worth of models that were just packed on there, and there was a character inside of there, so that point then remained pretty much impossible for him to take away from me. The intense objective control on the 1 point and the fact that there was a character there and that they were spread out in 3 different units meant that he was trying to split fire to whittle things down, but it wasn't really able to get any work done over there. I did end up winning this game pretty handily. As you can see from the primary, I was just slowly kept creeping ahead, and then just the line where we were trading units moved past the line of all of the objectives, and so he couldn't really catch up on primary, and then I was just tying up too many of his assets for him to be able to get too much secondary done. Not to mention that all of my draws for the secondary points are big ones. I mean, look, turn 2, I got Bring It Down against a completely vehicle-based army and ended up getting 8 points. And I got the Cleanse, which I had things camped out on all of the spots anyway, so it wasn't hard to do that. Tau feels like a pretty good matchup to me because a lot of their vehicles are just at the threshold where what counts as anti-tank fire for Sisters still hits like anti-tank fire for everyone else. So I'm 2-2, I have lunch, amazing tacos, and then we're going into the final game. This is the thing that will determine if I have a winning or a losing record. It's all down to the final game. I'm making this sound way more serious than it was. The last game of the day, when you've already lost 2, we're just having a fun casual game. And this one was against Jaden and his Drukhari, Dark Eldar. And Dark Eldar is an army I've never fought against. And Sisters was an army he'd never fought out against. This was the game of us really having to explain our complicated rules to each other. It's also the game where we almost ran out of time, which is a personal victory because I almost always run out of time in tournaments. And in my last video, I described a particular turn where a lot of my infantry got blasted off the table as the harvest. If that was the harvest, then this was a harvest festival, because we completely annihilated each other's armies. Which was extra funny because it was the mission where the center objective goes away, so there's only 2 objectives in No Man's Land. But what happened is we got back-to-back missions where we needed to put assets into the center of the board. And normally that's two birds with one stone, because what you want to do is take that point and then also complete the objective in the middle. But there was no objective there, so he got a mission where he got to move a bunch of units into the center to score points, and then I got the exact same mission the next round, or the next turn, so I had to go do that. He was playing the Drukhari detachment where you hop in and out of transports a lot, and it was very effective. And there's a couple reasons for that. One of which is that all of these Drukhari seem to have anti-infantry weapons. And I am a largely infantry-based army, so I'm like, oh, these probably won't be too bad. And he's like, well, it's anti-infantry 3, so these are all critical hits and blah, 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 blah. And then on top of that, Sister's whole gimmick is that we gain miracle dice when our units get destroyed, but Drukhari gain pain tokens when their units destroy something. So normally there's kind of that nice little trade-off where if they destroy a unit, I don't have that unit anymore, but at least I got a miracle dice out of it. But in this instance, they were also getting a new resource on top of that. So when it came to assigning the pain tokens, he was able to just like, here, and you get multiple times we did Oprah impressions of, you get a pain token and you get a pain token. There kept being lots of hilarious interactions, like I said, of us just trading units back and forth in the center objective. This corner down there, my Calidus just sat on the point, and then some big melee unit spent, I think, 3 turns trying to take her out, while she also failed to take out that unit. While trying to hold that back the line, we got this very funny picture of the Celestians scared and trapped inside of this building while it's surrounded by incubi. Now, I did end up losing this game, and it was a pretty close one yet again. And I had 1 unit camping on my backfield and 1 unit on one of the other objectives, and that was it. And he couldn't do anything about that either, because he was also down to 2, maybe 3 units, one of which was like 1 infantry character. So there we have it, the Storm of Silence was over. I went 2-3, which my last tournament I went 1-4, so it is a slight improvement. I had an absolute blast, thanks to Gamers Haven for putting on this awesome event. I am 100% going next year. Now at the end of this, there were painting awards, there was Player's Choice, there were sportsmanship awards, and these all went to a big general score. Now I know I didn't win anything big here, but out of 111 people at the tournament, I came in 22nd as a big amalgamation of, my game scores plus my sportsmanship plus my painting, which I'm going to go ahead and just feel quite good about. I got to meet a lot of cool people, a lot of cool local people too, and I got invited to join a team, but more on that later. I feel like the belle of the ball. I highly recommend to anyone who just plays Warhammer casual to try going to one of these events. They're extremely fun, they're very friendly. A lot of times the player packet can be a little intimidating. You're like, oh my gosh, there's all these rules, but like, if you're not shooting for absolute top tier tables, you're not like, it becomes a lot more of a casual thing than it may first appear on paper. Thank you to all of my wonderful opponents, and thanks to Gamers Haven again for putting on an incredible event. If you like these longer form videos, there is a playlist down here for other battle reports. Thanks for watching.